Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 5 degrees of Cancer, which will be exact on June 27th at 4:08 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 1:08 a.m. West Coast time in the US, which is also Los Angeles time. And so the new moon is always a time where there's a new beginning. We're planting new seeds for this new lunar cycle, which is 28 days long. And it's the best time for us to set some intentions. Now, the intention setting has to do with us needing to go within and needing to really check and see in terms of our intuition, what is it that I want to get to in these next 28 days? What would I like to create? And we will talk about the exact times when it's really the best time to set intentions at the end of this video. But first, let's talk a little bit about the Cancer energy, what that's about, because our intentions are best aligned with the energy of the new moon, right? So the Cancer energy has to do a lot with our feeling body. It has a lot to do with our emotional needs. What do I need? What do I feel? And what's important with the Cancer energy is to really understand that it has to do with the element of water. Water is connected to our feelings. And water on a physical level is something that's essential for us to be alive. But it's also true on an emotional level, that on an emotional and spiritual level, we need to connect to our feelings. We need to allow our feelings to flow. And we need to allow water to flow in order for it to be fully alive and to in order to feel like we're connecting to our inner selves. And so the flow of water is very important. And then, if we think about it, when water doesn't flow, right? When water gets stagnant on a physical level, it's sort of like, it's like a swamp or something like that, right? Where it just doesn't move and it's just stagnant. And, if you think of a swamp, it's kind of like, it's a little bit iffy in terms of health issues, and you may not want to drink that water, right? So it breeds disease, and the kind of life that's possible in a swamp, it's a very low vibrational life, right? So if you think about that the same is true for our feelings and for what's going on internally for us. If we don't allow our feelings to flow and they get stagnant or suppressed, then our life force becomes very limited, and we're living on a very, very low vibrational setting when we do that. However, if we allow our feelings to come through and to allow that experience, and we listen to our feelings, and we get to the bottom of like the informational source that each of these feelings has, right? Like, why am I feeling a particular way? What is that telling me and about what I need, right? If we can connect to our feelings in that way, we're going to feel much more alive, and we're going to make decisions in our lives that are connected to those instincts and to those emotional messages, right? And so that's something that's very important. And I think this new moon is very much it's a message to us that it's time for us to embrace our feeling nature, because Cancer is the first sign of the zodiac, and it has to do with the development of our emotional body. Now, of course, this is something that usually takes place when we're children. But very often, because the feeling nature has been suppressed in humans for such a long time, and we've been denying and ignoring it for such a long time, because there was such an emphasis on the male energy and on the constantly just, doing and going after things, that the feeling energy, which is a more feminine energy, has been very much suppressed and denied. So of course, our parents and our grandparents, our great-grandparents did not really have access very often to their own emotional bodies and to their own emotional informations. And so when they raised their children, they weren't really able to teach their children in a healthy way how to connect to your feeling body. It was something that they felt uncomfortable with. So when their kids would have a healthy expression of their feelings and connect to their feeling body, that would be something that would be immediately suppressed in them. It would be like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't be angry. You can't, stop crying. Don't do this. So there's these messages that we've been getting from little on that, it's not okay to have particular feelings, to have certain feelings. And so now as an adult, of course, it becomes very difficult then to connect to our feeling body in a healthy way. And so very often what we do, instead of really listening to our feelings, we look to the outside world for validation and for direction. Because we're not in contact with our inner connection. So we're looking to the outside world for direction and for information and like, where shall I go? What shall I do next, right? But the outside world, that can be very confusing, because the outside world, there's so many different options and so many different things that we sometimes get overwhelmed. Like, well, am I going in this direction, or am I, is this the right path for me to choose? Or shall I do what this person is doing? Or shall I do what that person is doing? But the truth is, you really need to check in with yourself and see what feels true to you internally. What is it that you need to do? Because it may be very different from what another person needs to do, right? So we need to really learn to trust our inner field of information, our feelings, and see them as such. Really change our way of thinking about our own feelings, and not see them as an annoyance or as something that makes us feel weak or less than, but see our feelings as something that is very valid, and that is something that really guides us and helps us understand what we need in each moment, and what we need to, the path that we need to follow, and the decisions that we need to make based on the information that we're getting from our inside. So this is definitely a big message of this new moon, and so we're starting to learn more to connect to the feminine now, and these next 28 days is definitely a message for us to move more fully into that feminine experience. Now Mercury, which is the planet of communication, is going to be stationing at the time of the new moon. And when a planet station it becomes more exalted, and it becomes more into our faces, and we're becoming more aware of that energy. And so with Mercury having been retrograde for the past 3 weeks, we're becoming more aware of what is that internal message that we're giving ourselves all the time. What do we say to ourselves? How do we communicate? How do we connect to other people, to ourselves? What are those thinking structures or thinking processes, right? So this is something that's coming up again, and we've been, of course, dealing with some of that for the last three weeks already. We've been sort of like internally checking in with ourselves and see, what works, what doesn't work for us. And so it's important for us to also be really patient with ourselves during the time of the Mercury station, because things are in our face right now, and things may be slowing down a little bit, and maybe things are not, flowing as fully as they normally would, because we're there's a certain amount of awareness that needs to be created right now, and this is helping us to create this awareness. So be patient, be flexible, pay attention to what you're seeing right now, what's coming up for you, so you can make the adjustments necessary once Mercury has gone direct again on July 1st. And the other thing that's also connected to this new moon is Jupiter is making a square to the moon nodes. And I talked about that in our last video already when I spoke about the full moon in Sagittarius. I mentioned it very briefly that Jupiter is helping us make that alignment from the masculine to the feminine. And it's helping us to really connect more fully to that path that we're taking towards that North Node in Libra, to connect more with a heart space and a space of balance and equality and peace. And the way we get there and the way we can shift to that place is through shifting our perception of the feminine energy and looking to take care of ourselves. Self-care is very important. A new perspective about self-care and about our feelings. This is what's really going to help us achieve that balance that we're seeking right now. And the other thing that's also still connected to this new moon is the Grand Cross that's been in place since April and also in January at some point. And it's sort of been off and on since December. You know, it's been like an off and on thing. Grand Cross coming together, moving apart, coming together, moving apart, and so on. Now the Grand Cross has its last moving together, but this time it happens with the Sun in Cancer, because Jupiter has already moved a little bit away from all the other outer planets. It's in a late degree of Cancer now. So the Sun is now moving into Cancer, and it's moving through all these points that connects it with Mars, with Uranus, with Pluto, right? And that's what's creating that Grand Cross this time around. So the Sun has a lot to do with our conscious awareness. So we're really bringing a lot of conscious awareness to our feeling bodies right now, and to that shift that needs to take place around self-care and around the ability to receive and give, right? This balance between giving and receiving, and connecting our heart and soul to something that we need to live from, you know, like we need to make these shifts in our lives so we can really live from that place of our heart and our soul feeling fully connected to what we're doing. So basically, you know, all of this is connected to the new moon, and so the message really is, on the whole, if we want to sum it up, right, the message is that, you know, in order for us to really live life full out, to really feel fully alive, we have to grow. We have to change. And change can be scary sometimes. Change is not something that most of us are super comfortable with. We, as a human species, we like the things that feel familiar. But when we're able to let go of what's familiar, especially the stuff that's no longer serving us, right? Even if it's familiar, sometimes it can be something that's really not working in our lives. It can be something that's just, contradictive to what we actually want to create and achieve in our lives. So if we have things like that and are able to let those things go, and very often it's connected to old belief systems, right? It's connected to something that we've adopted at a very young age, something that we believe in to be true, but something that's really not helping us to get to where we need to be going in order to feel fully alive, right? So paying attention to those things that are no longer serving us, to those beliefs that need to shift, or especially the beliefs that keep us small and then keep us on a lower vibration, operating on a lower vibrational level where we feel less alive. If we have anything that keeps us in that place, you know, see if you can find a new perception. See if you can look outside the past, look outside that conditioning and create something new for yourself instead of holding on to the familiar and to the old, right? And I think the best way to really achieve that with this new moon is definitely to nurture yourself, to be good to yourself, and to be a healthy parent to yourself, because most of us didn't really experience healthy parenting, especially when it came to our feeling nature. So as best as you can, be a healthy parent to your inner child, because that inner child, you know, has feelings, and that inner child, you know, is yelling sometimes, you know, I need this, or I want this, and why am I not getting this, right? And so being able to give yourself a lot of love and compassion and embracing that inner child and listening to that inner child, you know, that is very important. And, you know, another thing that I like to say is be your own best friend too. You know, treat yourself as if you, treat yourself like you would treat your best friend, you know, because a lot of times we don't treat ourselves as well as we treat the people in our lives that we really care about, So pay attention to that. Now, if you do have personal planets or personal points in 3 to 8 degrees of Cancer, Aries, Libra, or Capricorn, then you're definitely feeling this new moon energy more strongly. But of course, all of us will feel it somewhere in our birth chart. So if you do have the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, the career point, which is on the top of the chart, is called the MC or the midheaven, or the ascendant, which is also the rising sign on the left side of your birth chart. If you have any of those in 3 to 8 degrees in those particular signs, you definitely feel it more strongly. And then I would also suggest to really set some very powerful intentions for all of us this month in connection to the new moon energy, in connection to that Cancer energy, to the feeling energy, and see how we can find new perception and new direction in our life by just checking in with ourselves and trusting more what we're feeling and what we're sensing. Now, the best time to set intention is always after the new moon has become exact. The reason for that is that when the moon and the sun come together, that is the most fertile ground for intentions. So we don't want to set the intentions before then. We can, however, set the intentions 48 hours from the time of the new moon until 48 hours after the new moon. That's the most potent time of that fertile energy to plant our seeds, right, for the next 28 days. So go within, set those intentions. The best time for this month to set intentions is any time after 4:08 a.m. East Coast time in the US on June 27th until 9 p.m. on June 28th. Also East Coast time, that's New York time. So if you do live in a different time zone, then go to Google and Google the time zone converter on Google, and if you plug in the New York times and then you plug in your own time zone, you're going to be able to see what time is the best time for you to set intentions. If you're still confused after doing that, then go to my Twitter account at twitter.com/SonjaFrancis, and I will be tweeting on the 27th when it's time to set the intentions. I will let you know, now set your intentions, go. And then you will know that it's time to set intentions no matter where you are on the planet, because you can see then as I'm tweeting it that that's your time. Okay? You can also, of course, check in with my Facebook fan page also to see there. I will post times there as well, and on my website as well, on my weekly forecast too. So all of these options are available to you if you do have any problems with the time zones and stuff, right? Now, one last thing I want to mention is that I will have a special promotion right now that is for my whole life reading and for my combined natal and solar return reading on my website. If you go to my services page, you can see what readings are available. And those two readings, I'm giving a 15% discount until July 4th. At 11 p.m. New York time. So if you buy the reading by that time, before July 4th, 11 p.m. East Coast time, then you can schedule the reading for any time within the next 6 months. Okay, so you'll have that reading for the next 6 months. So even if you don't want to do a reading right this second, you can have it. You can have it for 6 months, okay? But the discount is only available until July 4th in the evening, okay? So take advantage. For those of you who watch my videos on a regular basis, you know that I don't give promotions very often. So definitely take advantage of this promotion. I'm not sure when the next one will be. And have a fantastic new moon. Take good care of yourself. Definitely nurture yourself. Definitely listen and trust what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your emotional world, and check in with yourself. What am I feeling right now? And just know that they're four basic feelings, right? There's happy, mad, sad, and afraid, right? Everything else is usually a derivative of those four feelings, right? There are levels and there are different levels of happy and different levels of angry and different levels of sad and afraid, right? But in the end, everything pretty much comes down to those 4 feelings. So if you can ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And just get used to acknowledging your feeling, used to honoring your feeling instead of suppressing it, instead of denying that you're having feelings, or that or just denying, or suppressing, a particular feeling that you don't like, let's say, like some people don't like to feel angry. So if you feel angry, honor that feeling, honor your anger, and just say, wow, I'm angry right now. I'm feeling angry, and it's okay, right? So just be a healthy parent to yourself, right? In that sense. All right, so have a fantastic new moon. I will be back in 2 weeks. And have a good one. If you have any general questions, feel free to email me at Sonja@AstrologerCoach.com. That's SONJA at AstrologerCoach.com. If you want to book a reading, any questions that you have that requires me to look into your chart or that has to do with your own personal astrology, please book a reading on my website on my services page. All right? So have a good one, and all the links that you need are also going to be underneath this video. All right, I'll talk to you soon. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.